You know, Lane Kiffin, you was very, very quiet during that Tennessee game. You was tweeting all day, but for some reason, you weren't tweeting during that Tennessee game. I don't know. Was your connection messed up? Was the Wi-Fi lagging? Because I didn't see a whole lot of action coming from your account during the Tennessee game. And if you've seen my older video about Lane Kiffin, you will understand what I'm saying. This is why I say hypotheticals do not work in sports. They sat there all weekend. A 6-6 LSU team would do this. You know, a 7-5 A&M Arkansas team would blow this team out the water. No, they wouldn't. We would never know until they step foot on the field because we've seen a 2-loss SEC team, the team that finished third best in the SEC, go to Columbus and get blown out. Now, is the SEC the best conference in college football? Yes, we all know that. Anyone who watches football knows that. But at the same time, it's not this top-to-bottom gauntlet of a conference like we all think it is. Ole Miss fans, Alabama fans, so we can stop this whole thing right now. The reason why you guys didn't make the playoffs is because both of you guys had two egregious losses. Ole Miss, you lost to a 4-8 Kentucky team. You said you could run through the ACC. Well, Kentucky got blown out by Louisville, and then you lose to Florida. Alabama, you lost to Vanderbilt, who lost to Georgia State. And then you go over to Oklahoma and get blown out by that team who has no offense whatsoever. That's why you didn't make the playoffs. But the one thing that annoyed me about watching the playoffs was going on Twitter, right? Because all I seen was, this right here is really competitive game. Wow, committee, you got this right. Look here, guys. I wish there was more competitive games because I love watching a good game. But this isn't pro wrestling. We're not booking dream matches. Hulk Hogan versus Ric Flair, The Undertaker versus The Rock, John Cena versus Roman Reigns once in a lifetime in Hell in a Cell. No, this is real sports. This is not sports entertainment. This is all about teams who went out there, won their games, met the criteria, and qualified for a playoff spot. I mean, be for real. Let's not act like in any sports league there aren't blowouts in the first round of playoffs. You look at high school football. Usually the first two rounds, if the team is any good, they're blowing those teams out. It doesn't even get really good games until the quarterfinals. You look at the NBA playoffs. The 8 seed, the 7 seed, the 6 seed sometimes, they're usually getting swept 4-0, 3-1, not even close. Same thing with the NFL. You got the wild card team playing the Kansas City Chiefs. They're getting beat probably by 2 or 3 touchdowns. It happens all the times. So just relax. It's going to get better. I believe they will get better. And the reason why I bring up the WWE is because I feel like as fans, we lose track about what do we really want, right? Do we want the playoffs to be, a dream game? What we think a good game will make? Even though Ole Miss went 8-4, Alabama, they went 8-4, I think them versus Notre Dame will be a great game to watch. We don't know that. And my thing is, how can you justify putting those teams in the playoffs when they qualified, when a team like Indiana went 10-1 and lost one game to Ohio State, who was number 2, number 3 in the nation at the time? That's a quality loss. And I get it, right? Maybe their competition wasn't the greatest, but Indiana also played Michigan. Michigan won the national championship the year before. It is not their fault that Michigan turned out to be not very good this year. You cannot help who you play. And matter of fact, especially with these conference schedules, I played college football. A lot of these games, even out of conference games, they're scheduled 3, 4, 5 years, sometimes for some of these games, a decade in advance. You cannot control how good a team is, and you shouldn't fault them for that. And as a football fan, we should appreciate the 12-man playoff because it gives more teams like a Tennessee who lost 2 games, like an Indiana who lost 1 game, who shouldn't even been there the year before. Think about it. They have a chance to compete for a championship. We're not saying they can go out there and beat those teams. They probably won't. But think about it. Imagine going 10-2 and not having a chance to compete for a championship. That's crazy. And then at the end of the day, too, we're getting more high-quality football. Now, I know there were blowouts, but think about it for a second. All those games for those teams in the first round, if those teams are playing in their regular bowl games without the 12-man playoffs, half the time, those players will either be in the portal or they'll be opting out. Now we get to see these teams with their full roster. We get more games of competitive college football. Because I remember growing up watching the Rose Bowl, Fiesta Bowl, and all those New Year's Six Bowls, right? Even though they weren't the national championship game, those were still big-time bowl games to watch. Nowadays, with the portal and players opting out, those games, you don't even get to see the top players. Now, we get more high-quality games added to college football. That is a plus in my eyes. I love that. We should love it, too, as football fans. Appreciate the 12-man playoff because it gives more teams a chance to compete for a championship. And I would say this. I don't think they messed up as far as selecting teams, but I do think the seeding is kind of funny. I don't understand how they do the seeding, but that's a story for a whole nother day. But at the end of the day, like I said before, there's always blowouts in the first round of playoffs. Just relax. And always remember, do we want dream WrestleMania matches, main event matches, or do we just want teams to play in the playoffs? Because this isn't about booking the best entertainment game. It's about having teams who qualified and met the criteria to play in the playoffs and compete for a championship. But let me know what you guys think.